What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So Rell, this is the League of Legends champion I'm going to be covering today from Noxus, and I stress from Noxus because she isn't listed officially on the Noxus page. Had a comment on the previous video I did, which was Riven, saying you've got to do Rell. She is in essence basically part of the Noxus lore. Past, present, and potentially future as well. So it's got to be done. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go through her bio. I'm also going to go through her story. I'm going to go through her skins, give you my favorite 3 skins. I'm going to go through her special interactions and also her spotlight. Plus, she has a login theme. I'll be going through that as well. And to add the cherry on top, she also has a champion trailer, I think, as well. So I'll timestamp the whole thing as I always do. And yeah, without further ado, let's go. So, Rell, the Iron Maiden. Forge your heart into something strong. Unbreakable. So, let's kick things off with the bio. Posters across Noxus warn of a dangerous criminal armed with a massive blunted spear and born atop a magical fiend, whose mere existence poses a threat to the safety and security of the entire nation. Who could this be? Even some within the steeled ranks of the Trifarian Legion have begun to worry that they will be sent after her to their almost certain deaths. What kind of monster could be behind such heinous, unchecked destruction? The simple answer is a 16-year-old girl. The complicated one is unforgivable. What? Okay, fine. Rell was special for the moment of her birth and fated to suffer for it. Born the daughter of a Noxian foot soldier and the heir to a fallen noble house, she enjoyed neither the trappings of wealth nor the gilded upbringing common to the children of the lower aristocracy. That's right, aristocracy. Nevertheless, her parents had grand plans to mould her into someone who could shatter through Noxus's dense political landscape. As Rell's mother always said, excellence is measured in sacrifice. Rell's unhappiness grew with time, sparking something unique within her, a magic unlike anything seen in centuries, the ability to manipulate metal. Hold up, let me say that again. Rell's unhappiness grew with time, sparking something unique within her, a magic unlike anything seen in centuries. So it did exist in the past. The ability to manipulate metal. Never knew that. To Rell's parents, this was something to be exploited, obviously. For Rell's own sake, of course. And they tried unsuccessfully to apprentice her with many powerful mages who might whisk their daughter into the political or military elite. Okay, so well, I've got a feeling something bad's going to happen to her parents in this bio. But someone else took notice of the young girl's magic. Don't tell me it was Silas. Seeing in Rell a weapon who could one day face Noxus' most hated ancient foe, a certain LeBlanc pale woman visited the family with a dark bargain. Rell soon found herself the star pupil of a very special academy, hidden far from the capital and away from the council's prying eyes. And though they rarely made appearances in her new boarding school, her mother and father never seemed more proud or more hopeful of their daughter's future. It seemed, at least for a moment, that perhaps Rell would be loved after all, and that is all she wants. Who was I reading before? Katarina. Katarina's the same thing. She tries to get her father's approval, and that's why she made the mistake that actually pushed her further away from her father. But all she wanted was the approval and acceptance and love of her parents. And that's all Rell wants as well. Anyways, then the true horror begins. So, Rell was first forced into combat with another student when she was 8. Nice, okay. And afterwards, a kind of magic sigil was painfully grafted into her arm. Very good of him. Amplifying her power so that she could become even stronger. Yet while this had been framed as a training exercise, Rell never saw the boy again. She never saw any of her opponents again. Why? Maybe because they're dead. Every day she grew more powerful, honing her magic for martial combat. Her body became covered with sigils that amplified her magical abilities to impossible heights. In time, she could rip a vein of raw ore from deep out of the ground, twisted the walls into deadly weapons, and superheat an opponent's arm until it collapsed and crushed them. So pretty OP. But her instructors desired even more from her, all in the hopes that Rell would be the most powerful soldier the Empire had ever known. And this is the thing, they never question what she wants. And it'll get to a point where she'll snap and she'll do what she wants. Guaranteed. On her 16th birthday, after a particularly barbaric duel, she'd finally had enough. Here we go. Casting her instructors aside, Rell tore past the guards and ripped open the doors of the forbidden wing of the academy, discovering the true nature of her school. Every opponent she defeated had been nullified, their magic forcibly extracted from them and placed into the very sigil covering Rell's body. Right, and left as emotionless puppets devoid of memories. This was the price of her power, and she could never give it back. Worst of all was the headmistress who oversaw the procedures herself. Rell's own plot twist. Rell's own mother. And all of this had been for Rell, she said. Yeah, right. After all, excellence is measured in sacrifice. Yeah, but whose sacrifice? It ain't your sacrifice, it's the kids that you're killing, in essence. Rell raged. To the small handful of faculty who survived her escape from the academy, it was like the earth had been torn open into a twisting whirlwind of razor-sharp slag. Okay. The building ripped itself apart, forming an impenetrable suit of black armour around Rell as she crushed those who stood before her, flattening seasoned soldiers with a lance heavier than a mountain. Bursting through the front gate of the steel on a steed made of rippling iron, she led as many as her classmates as she could to freedom, leaving the rows scrambling to recover the null and erase any trace of what their organisation had done. Told you, but it was far too late. Soon enough, the surviving faculty members began to die in increasingly public ways, and the null could no longer be kept secret. Rell is now a threat to Noxus, but not in the way the handbills proclaim. She is a self-styled defender of the meek, full of unchecked fury, distrustful of everyone, makes sense, and merciless towards a government that turned a blind eye to years of suffering and abuse, not because the Empire was personally responsible, but because they stood by and did nothing, which in essence is the same thing. Riding atop her iron steed, Rell's eyes are set on nothing less than the complete destruction of Noxus and saving any child who, like her, survived the Black Rose Academy, and there is nothing in this world that can stop her. Well, based on her abilities, they ain't lying. Based on her abilities, I can agree there's nothing in this world that can stop her. Interesting bio. I like that. It's very similar to Silas's in a way. Silas was a child of Demacia, she is a child of Noxus. Both taken advantage of for what the region can get from them. They don't care about the cost, the sacrifice, or how it affects the child. Silas obviously turned his back on Demacia and he wants revenge. And a very similar thing for Rell as well. Riding atop her iron steed, Rell's eyes are set on nothing less than the complete destruction of Noxus and saving any child who, like her, survived the Black Rose. So the equivalent of any child like her who survived the Black Rose would be Silas's version of a mage. He obviously loves all mages because of the suffering they went through as well. Yeah, very similar to that, but the Demacian, the Noxus version. Anyways, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through her skins. Let's go. So, this is Rell's skins. And I can say that because she's got two. So, technically I was correct. The first one, original. The product of a brutal experimentation at the hands of the Black Rose, Rell is a defiant living weapon determined to topple Noxus. Her childhood was one of misery and horror, as we found out from the bio, enduring unspeakable procedures to perfect and weaponize her magical control over metal, until she staged a violent escape, killing many of her captors in the process. Unfortunately, I don't think she killed her mother, which would have kind of been justice. Now branded as a criminal, which is typical in it. You know, what's the quote from Batman? You're the hero long enough to become the villain. I've botched that. But you know what I mean, the one from Harvey Dent. Kind of applies. Anyways, Rell attacks Noxus soldiers on sight, and she searches for survivors of her old academy, defending the meek while delivering violent death to her former overseers. This would once again be quite an interesting story as well, wouldn't it? She obviously kills Noxus soldiers on sight, but she's also searching for survivors of the old academy that clearly had similar abilities to her, but not as powerful than she absorbed. Kind of like X-Men. They're out there somewhere, and she has to go and find them, bring them together. It'd make a cool story. Anyways, this is the original one. I like you can see her trusty steed there. It isn't Donkey from Shrek. It's cool. It looks cool, and I like her look as well. I really like her look. I like the bright yellow fiery hair. Yeah, it looks cool. So the next one is Battle Queen. Nice. A young woman from the magic-starved Queendom of Calamity volunteered for the coronation by a shadowy cabal of aristocrats after a series of magical experiments. Okay. Having now won the crowd and the power of her crest, Rell has discovered her powers were stolen from the people of her country, and she has vowed revenge on her puppeteers. So this is the pre, in my opinion, and this is the post when everyone obviously celebrates her as well. Cool. I like that skin as well. That's nice. Out of the two though, I actually like the original war. Original war? Come on, I like the, you know what I'm trying to say. I like the original more, not the original war. I like the original more. But there's actually only 2 skins here, I think. Yeah, there's only 2 skins. I guess technically she's quite a new champion. She's only been around for what, less than a year, so that kind of makes sense. So maybe at some point later on, when she gets a few more skins, I might come back to this and give you my top 3. Because technically now, I can't give you my top 3. But in order of the ones available, the original will be number 1 and the Battle Queen will be number 2. So let me move on to her login theme if she's got one, and then I'll also move on to her champion trailer. Let's go. Okay. Ooh. Okay. How has she not got a pentacle skin? She has to have a... Whoa, 4 minutes 30 seconds long. Okay. She's called Iron Maiden. And just listen to this. Kath is in the background doing his thing. Nice little intro there. That was a nice little intro. Hopefully it'll go calm for a little bit now, then boom, pick back up. But yeah, how can you not have a pentacle skin for Rell? You have to. My favourite skin for Kale is the pentacle version, and I can see how it wouldn't take a lot to turn this skin, the original, into a pentacle skin as well. With the actual steed as well, that'll be popping. Anyways, let it play. Right in saying this is the first login theme or champion theme. It's got vocals. It's got vocals as well. I think it is. Okay. This is so Pinnacle. This has to be Pinnacle. Come on. Come on. Wow. Wow. Okay, so that's one of the longest logging themes I've listened to. I think it's the first one that's got vocals. And really good. Really, really good as well. Over the 4.5 minutes, I've got time to appreciate how good this bass skin is. It's so good. I love the contrast of colour as well. You've got the light side here in this half of the shot, the dark here, the rain pouring. What even do you call this? I forgot what it's called. I'm going to call it a big ass sword, but you know what I mean. I like that. I like how you got the flames in it as well and the steam coming off the sides of it as well. Yeah, that was good. And obviously the actual music was really good as well. That has to be a Pinnacle. That has to be a Pinnacle theme. Have to, because that song is basically Pinnacle. Iron Maiden. One other thing I'll quickly say as well is, just thinking off the top of my head now, that song could easily be transferred, in my opinion, to Jinx. That's the Jinx song every day of the week. 'Cause I'll bring fire. I'll never lose the fire. I'll never stop the riot. I'll never feel the fear inside. Arcane. Yeah, that is definitely a Jinx theme as well. You could easily put that to Jinx and it wouldn't be out of place. Let's put it that way. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to her champion teaser, or champion trailer. Let's go. Uh-oh.
The helpless fight. The hardened live. That's what they taught me. What they forced down my throat. They wanted me to be strong. Ruthless.
Whoa.
Cold as iron.
Oh. Wow, with the flex. Oh. Axle in the shoulder. Huh, mad.
Well, they got their wish.
That login thing. Here we go. Into that. Okay, it's okay. Rather, I made a champion trailer. Considering this is maybe only 9 months old. This trailer, yeah, I've seen better. I mean, the one from Aatrox is probably up 4 or 5 years old, and that's better than this one. I mean, that's kind of cool. That part there where she didn't even flinch with the axe on her shoulder, giving me flashbacks of Justice League. It's decent, but you know what I'm trying to say there, like the graphics and what we saw from that champion trailer was, yeah, it was okay. Anyways, let's move now on to the story. Let's go. So the story is called The Second Grave. Maybe this is her mother. We shall see. So, Rell thought about the null often. She didn't want to, of course, but the thoughts were intrusive and the road was long, and most of the time there wasn't much to do besides drift back into those unhappy memories as she rode her shifting metal steed from one rumour to the next. Okay. Hours and hours of silence, and then always killing. This time she was far in the outskirts of Noxan territory, following whispers of another null child being secreted over the border. Null. Rell winced. Even the shape of the word hurt, and she silently swore to herself as she braced against nothing, shaking off the weight of it. Then the pain turned to anger, then the anger to rage. So no, these are the kids that she's trying to find to try and spare them from the childhood that she, I assume, well, I know she received. That's kind of the logic behind it. I wonder if she's going to build a crew like Zed. Anyways, Noxus had made the null and made her, and now in their immeasurable cowardice, the Noxans couldn't bear to look. Better to take the null far away so Noxus could go back to being glorious. Rell hated this ugly country, filled with its stupid, ugly people. Tell her to Draven. She hated its bleak, stripped mined mountains. They're all gobbled up in Born Darkle's foreign wars. She hated its cracked, rotten soil, used up for ration crops and then left exposed to the wind. Now the only thing that grew anywhere was the green-brown moss that seemed to cake every inch of uninhabited land, populated mostly by carnivorous lizards the size of a house. What a hideous naive place, she thought. She obsessed with its mediocrities, so consumed by constant expression that it could not and would not see what it had already become. The Black Rose and their experiments were just a symptom of its deeper sickness. Rell would tear it all down. She saved the null, then destroyed the Empire bit by bit, even if she had to do it alone, just like she'd ripped apart the Academy. Then the boulder hit her, and just for a moment, everything was quiet. End of chapter 1. Rell had not known many of her classmates. Most of the promising ones hadn't been forced to fight her in exhibition matches to test her strength. She didn't realise until much later that whatever shape they were in after, the instructors whisked them away, extracting their magic with essence absorbing stone like sigils and leaving them null forever. Wow. She remembers some of the kids, but the rest were, whatever that is, of faces punctuated by extreme pain. From the fights themselves to the horrific hour-long sigil grafting process that gave their power to her. The other students very, very quickly grew to fear her, hate her, even in a way Rell was always alone. All save for one. Gabriel was a boy whose soft eyes and kind voice were not a product of Noxus, but some other far-flung local that Rell could only scarcely imagine. He understood Rell and had an odd magic that allowed him to shape dirt into tiny fauna, the animals and birds of his homeland. Nice, dancing and playing for Rell's amusement, like Gru. Though he seemed sad to be so far from his family, the two found comfort in each other's friendship. Gabriel spending many of his nights comforting Rell as she recovered from the Academy's abuse. It was simply a matter of time before they would face one another in combat, and while Rell seemed hopeful, Gabriel knew what was coming, yet for a while at least the two could pretend. So, Rell awoke on the din of a war band that cautiously approached her, checking if she was dead. Unfortunately for them, she was not. Rell rose with the shattered metal plates of her steed, her titanic lance. There we go, lance. Finding her hand as raw molten ore poured upwards from the ground and into the monstrous weapon. Her mount reformed, pulsating with the heat of 1,000 furnaces. Raw iron contorted into shape, seizing itself into the jagged silhouette of a stallion, and Rell leapt upon its back. She counted 5 opponents. It's no problem, including a Minotaur perched on a pile of large jagged stones, as you do. Probably the same kind that hit her, and then one more. A thin man in dusty white coat clumsily tried to escape across the vast nothing of Noxan wilderness. Instructor Lucas, the man who brought Great Gabriel to the Academy, and the man who took him away. Right. Though Rell would fight anyone who stood in her path, she had a special rule for her old instructors. No questions asked, no answers given. She wouldn't make an exception for this one. Rell's stallion charged forward as if it had escaped a dark, distant nightmare, and like the hammer of a scorched god, Rell's lance slammed into the first soldier who stepped in her way. It was a weapon not made for piercing, but for crushing, and as the soldier's eyes widened in horror, the last thing that went through his mind was his helmet. Wow. The last thing that went through his mind was his helmet. Wow, that's a nice play on words, that. Okay. A second fighter attempted to impale Rell's mount, but her spear snapped between its steaming plates, and Rell swatted her far into the distance, and a deformed lump of scrap metal and flesh landing several yards away. Two crossbowmen, much now less confident than before, tried to beat a hasty retreat. Rell leapt into the air, her steed itself forming around her into a thick suit of impenetrable black armour, and she brought herself down upon them as the earth ripped open beneath her boundless rage. The Minotaur's rocks may have worked in a sortie, but even his great hunks of volcanic stone shattered against Rell's armour as she slowly marched towards him. A dark knight, utterly unstoppable, who felled the great creature with a single blow. She turned her attention to her old instructor. Lucas felt the gentle pulse of his former student. Before chunks of superheated slag ripped from the mossy dirt and into a whirlwind of jagged debris surrounding Rell, it was a storm of metal, heat and hatred, and all he could whimper before the end was a panicked Gabriel's at the camp. Rell crushed Lucas instantly, his broken form pounded so deeply into the ground that even the ballists would have trouble digging out this corpse. Well, then the storm stopped, the slag fell away, and everything was quiet once more. True to the instructor's last words, Gabriel was concealed in a tent within a grassy ravine where the ground had given way and created a wide shallow indentation in the land, the perfect place to hide a camp. Oh, damn. He was dead long before Rell found him. Malnutrition. Nullification didn't just steal the magic of its intended victims, it surrendered their soul apart, leaving a glacier-eyed husk that didn't want anything, barely spoke, couldn't remember, and never dreamed. A small handful had to be fed, but some rose-aligned warbands simply chose to neglect the task out of resentment for the job. That is harsh. So that is who the tombstone's for. Rell looked at Gabriel, at the form wrapped into canvas who once made tiny animals leap from the ground to make her laugh when she was in pain. Digging her lance into the earth, she forced its dark metal out of her hand, then upwards, then around until his body was covered. A simple grave to mark her friend's passing, but an indestructible one decorated with crude animals forever frozen in steel. She closed her eyes as she rode off, trying to remember Gabriel as he once was, but all Rell could see were the ballists feasting on the dead, and her fist closing around a pale woman's throat. Ooh. So yes, this is the thing, so she's trying to just focus on the good times, but all she can think of is revenge. In essence, revenge. All she could see was ballists feasting on the dead, and her fist closing around a pale woman's throat. So I'm quite confident the pale woman is LeBlanc. Almost certain of it. But yeah, clearly she wants revenge. Or maybe it isn't, maybe it's a mother. But yeah, that's kind of a sad story actually. That's kind of a sad story. I was expecting him to actually still be alive. But clearly, he's dead. And if you think about it as well, she clearly feels guilt because she found out later on that the actual act of absorbing the other people's power nullifies them, and indirectly because of that she's responsible for her friend's death, which makes her even more pissed off, I'm sure, as well. But no, that was good to read The Second Grave. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to her special interactions, and then I'm going to finish it off with her spotlight. Let's go.
More like the boss of having his shirt off. Oh, I think you heard that.
That is set though, isn't it? That is set for you. I love Set, one of my favourite characters.
Hey, Snake, I'm gonna crush your bones.
Okay.
You know my dad, General, so you know what's about to happen. Oh, so your name's Echo. That's cool. I'm cool. Bet the Rose would sure hate losing their pet bug. You know I can see you, right? Gross little gerbil man. Hey, LeBlanc! Tell my mom I'm gonna rip her head off.
Ah, so it's a mum. Okay.
Alright, Rell, be cool. It's just a tall, super strong armored lady. You're Mordekaiser, right? All metal. I can take you.
Good point.
Samira! If you're looking for me, here I am. You're cute, Seraphine. Well, bye. Noxus will fall, Swain. Starting with you. Oh, I hope this won't hurt my chances. Leona?
Don't So I like her. I like her voice, and I like how she's kind of awkward with it as well. She's kind of awkward with her interactions. But it just reminds me that obviously she's still really young as well. No, I like it.
We would not be good together, Sarah. One dead snake, one less petal on the rose.
Yep.
You should have kept better tabs on your people, General. Ugh, just when I thought I knew him, he went back in time. One evil spider lady down, several evil animal people to go. Your lizard had the right idea, General Admiral Brigadier Cled.
What a name.
Good. That'll send Mob the message. Noxus was afraid of that guy? This might be easier than I thought. So long, Samira. Thought you'd be more stylish than that. Does this mean I'm your boss now? I gotta walk away. This is too much. Huh. Grand General. Someone scrape this idiot off the floor. Thanks for the practice, stupid. Beaten by a girl to death. On to the next. I told you not to fight me, but here we are. I've kicked rocks tougher than you. Let's try that again. Hi, I'm Rell.
Enter.
No one beats me, no one breaks me, and no one stands in my way!
Okay.
All right, I'll admit you helped. I could learn to trust someone like you.
What, Katarina?
Don't get comfortable. I work alone. You're dependable. I like that. Didn't expect the assist. Thanks. You'll watch my back? Just like that? Cool. Boo! You suck! How about you say that again? Can't tell if I taste metal or blood.
Cool respawn. Okay.
Excellence is measured in sacrifice.
Yeah, I like it.
Or whatever. Run them all down. We're good, they're bad, and that's all you need to know. This little girl is about to crush some heads. Fight like you mean it. Die for something that matters. They'll pay for what happened to me. Noxus, the Black Rose, everyone. When steel crashes against steel, it's so loud, I almost forget. The Rose ripped the magic out of my friends and put it into me. I hate them. The people who hurt me are dead. All but one. My mother. Those Academy kids are still out there. I'll find them all.
Yeah.
I'll save them.
Okay, decent. That was decent special interactions. It would have been nice to get some interactions back with other champions as well, but obviously she's a new champion, so that might come later on. But no, I like her voice. I like her kind of personality as well. It reminds me a little bit of Lux, but not as annoying, and the Nox version, if that makes sense. And also, she keeps emphasising her mother. Clearly, she wants revenge on her mother, so maybe that might be flushed out later on in future stories as well, which would be really good. Anyways, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish off with her spotlight. Let's go.
Iron Maiden. Raised in the secret Black Rose Academy, Rell was forced to test her powers of ferromancy against other children, siphoning their magic and growing stronger with every battle she won. Now, this heavily armored metal-manting support is fighting back against the powers that betrayed her.
Oh.
Get ready to pump some iron. This is the Rell Champion Spotlight.
Okay.
Rell's passive, Break the Mold, is all about wearing enemies down to beef herself up. Although she attacks extremely slowly, her attacks briefly steal a percentage of her target's armor and magic resist, and deal bonus damage on hit.
Okay.
Attacking more enemies gives Rell more armor and magic resist, and every new enemy she attacks refreshes the debuff on targets she's already stealing from.
Forge your heart into something strong. Unbreakable.
Tough talk for worm food.
Okay, Lucian. Worm food.
With her Q, Shattering Strike, Rell thrusts forward with her lance, damaging and applying her passive to the first enemy hit and dealing half damage to all other targets. Shattering Strike also destroys enemy shields, foiling their defenses so they can eat lead.
Okay.
Rell's W, Ferromancy, comes in 2 parts. With Crashdown, Rell dons her full metal jacket, transforming her mount into heavy armor, leaping into the air and slamming to the ground to knock up surrounding enemies. She also gains a shield that lasts until broken or until she transforms back to her mounted state. Rell puts the pedal to the metal with Mount Up, transforming her armor back into her Steed of Steel. During her next attack, she charges her target, then flips them over her shoulder, dealing bonus damage. Rell has more durability while armored, but more speed while mounted, which means she can really get the lead out when she needs it most.
All this waiting. I just want to fight.
Rell's E, Attract and Repel, magnetically binds her to an ally, granting them armor and magic resist while nearby. She can recast the spell to stun and damage enemies between her and the bound ally.
Oh.
Don't get comfortable. I work alone.
Help an alloy out. Damaging an enemy with Shattering Strike will heal Rell and her bound ally a percentage of their missing health. The more enemies hit, the more health they get back. Pairing the bind with Ferromancy allows for some devastating combos. Hitting enemies while mounted can flip them into the stun zone. Knocking enemies up with Crashdown makes them easy targets for a follow-up stun.
Yeah, okay.
With her ultimate Magnetic Storm, Rell erupts in unbridled rage, creating a gravitational field around her that sucks in enemies and deals damage over time. It is possible for enemies to escape the vortex, so Rell must choose which targets to keep in range. Magnetic Storm doesn't interrupt channels or disable any other actions, so basic attacks, Flash, and Elastic Slingshot are still on the table. Playing Rell well is all about knowing when to saddle up and when to hunker down. In your armored state, rely on your extra shielding to win trades. When your shields are down, mount up again to lance a lot and finish the job. Choose the right moment to strike. With low mobility on foot, you might crash down to find yourself all armored up with nowhere to go, and no one likes an int horse. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with friends. Use Attract and Repel to bind to allies who can lock down enemies to help set up a stun and Shattering Strike. You can also use Attract and Repel's stun radius to peel your squishies from assassins, then strike while the iron's hot.
Nice.
For the ultimate crowd control combo, wait for enemy dashes to go on cooldown, then charge in for a huge knockup. While in the air, cast Magnetic Storm and Attract and Repel, so when you finally crash down, all your team has to do is pick up the shrapnel.
Yeah! Someone scrape this idiot off the floor.
Okay. There are 2 skins.
Rell. Think you got what it takes to ride with the Iron Maiden? Test your metal in the bot lane with Rell. Learn more about this heavy metal tank at the links below.
Okay, that was good. And I think that kind of wraps it up for me today, guys, on this one. A nice conclusion, which is the Rell Champion Spotlight. Good to see her abilities. And also her passive, which seems pretty interesting there as well. And also some gameplay tips as well. I've never played Rell. I think I played against her once. And I don't have the champion, so maybe if I get enough blue essence one day, who knows, maybe I might actually purchase the champion as well. Anyways, yeah, I think I'll leave it here today, guys, on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed my thoughts, reactions, and lore breakdown for Rell, including the story, the bio, the actual 2 skins, that amazing champion theme, the spotlight, and also the interactions as well. And if you did, feel free to let me know. Feel free to like, comment, and maybe also subscribe if you haven't done so already. And yeah, next week's champion is going to be... who was next week's? Samira. Samira is going to be next week's champion, and I'm also going to put in something regarding Riven in terms of her additional stories as well. I might have already have done it by this point, but if I haven't, then it will be coming in the next couple of days. Let's just put it that way. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next one.